We are talking about the Google leak that happened a couple months ago on this episode of the podcast. This is 7 things Google can measure that might affect your SEO. This comes from WordStream, which is a top marketing blog, top marketing website. The Google leak confirmed lots of ways people thought Google worked, which Google said, no, we can't measure this. It doesn't work like that. The Google leak confirmed that things that Google said they couldn't measure, they actually could measure. And while the weights of what they can measure has not been revealed, just the fact that they can measure these things, which they said they could not, and these are clearly important things for any algorithm. And I have seen these myself. Pretty much lots of people in the SEO community now know that these things matter. Also, just the many years that we have spent sharing our experiment findings with each other or our results with each other and what we learned. So I'm going to list 7 things that Google can measure that. And the word might is used here because, again, the weights were not revealed. The weights of each attribute were not revealed, but we know that they do. So I'm going to take out the word might. 7 things Google can measure that will affect your SEO. And I'm going to comment on each of these because I have a lot of experience on each of these. I've been doing SEO for over a decade with some of the biggest companies in the world: P&G, ADP, Microsoft, Time Inc., so many others. I'm literally forgetting some because there's so many big companies, lots of SMBs, my own startups, my own websites. Let's go. Domain authority. Previously, Google representatives have said that Google does not measure or consider domain authority at all. They claim that they don't take the overall quality or authoritativeness of your site into account when ranking individual pages. However, the leaked documentation painted another picture. In reality, as part of the compressed quality signals that are stored on a per document basis, Google has a feature they compute called site authority. So this is what this means. Your domain authority is being measured by Google. Again, we don't know exactly if or how important it is to ranking, but Google is looking at it in some way. This means you need to have a well-built website with high-quality, authoritative content plus credible links to your site that prove your content is valuable. It's a well-known thing that the authority of a website matters. However, in lots of different situations, it might not matter. For example, bottom of funnel keywords that are directly in your niche, and you have a few backlinks, not a lot. They might not even be super authoritative. Just telling Google your website is about this topic, and then you're doing bottom of funnel SEO landing pages for non-competitive but high converting keywords, and you can actually rank for that without having a very authoritative site. Now, if the site is in a more competitive niche or is in health or finance, it'll be a bit harder. But lots of other niches, you can have bottom of funnel SEO landing pages for super lucrative keywords. Rank really fast, really well for these keywords with these pages without having tons of domain authority. But if you want to go after the competitive keywords, that's where the authority really matters. And of course, Google is going to look at this. That's why I make all of my websites nice. I make them look professional. They're fast. Everything is optimized. I don't have thin content. I don't have duplicate content. Lots of hallmarks of having a clean site, clear information architecture, all these things. But you want to have an authoritative looking website and obviously backlinks, but the backlinks aren't necessary. Not a ton of backlinks are necessary to go after bottom of funnel keywords. And that's where the conversions happen, which is why they're my favorite. If you want a way to quickly get some domain authority, if you have a new site to go from 0 to 20, I always recommend boostbenchmark.com. It's made by this guy, Phil. It is a list of the best directories to submit a new website to. And Phil is awesome, responds to everybody who buys the product. You can also use feature.com, which is journalists who are looking for expert guests to quote in their articles, and they will link to you if accepted. I have a very high acceptance rate on there. Lots of other amazing ways to get backlinks. Backlinks are what, of course, increase domain authority. Number 2, clicks and engagement. And this one blew a lot of people's minds. I knew this myself. You could just, if you have been doing SEO for long enough, you could tell clicks and engagement matter. But Google said, we can't measure this stuff. So here's what this section says. Not only does how many clicks you're getting matter, but also the quality of clicks you're getting from your organic rankings. Google has previously said over and over, in fact, that clicks were not a ranking factor, although many SEO experts have long debated whether or not that was true. Recently, information came out during the Google antitrust trial revealing that Google's nav boost system, based on click quantity and quality, is one of the most important signals in ranking sites. So it is great to finally see that Google measures clicks in a variety of ways, including bad clicks, good clicks, last longest clicks, and unsquashed clicks, according to the documents. All those are terms. All those are actually attributes. Here's what this means. Focus on driving more successful clicks by broadening the amount of high-intent queries you target, bottom of funnel, keywords, that's what that is, and make sure the content on those pages is truly helpful to users. Useful content and strong user experience are the best ways to send healthy engagement signals to Google. A focus on driving more qualified traffic to a better user experience will send signals to Google that your page deserves to rank. My newsletter today was about this. I said, you want to have the highest click-through rate that you can. So you want to have a page title that gets people to click. Sometimes Google will choose their own page title, but you still want to make the best one that you can. And then you want to actually have content on the page that satisfies the visitors from Google so that they don't bounce. And if they bounce, Google will see that. So you don't want them to bounce. You want to satisfy the searchers who land on your page. So low bounce rate, high click-through rate. I'm going to give a backup now on the context of the Google leak, because the way that this came about, if you don't know, is pretty interesting. Here's the backstory. Documentation from Google's Search Content Warehouse API was published by an automated bot on GitHub. This documentation included over 2,500 pages of more than 14,000 attributes that Google measures or can measure as part of its algorithm. Rand Fishkin, co-founder and CEO of SparkToro and founder of Moz, which I love, it's software that is great, was approached by a then anonymous source who has since come forward about the content and authenticity of the documents. He shared findings from that conversation as well as his analysis. After countless publications covered the documentation leak, with barely any word from Google, Google finally verified the documents are real. And the leak provides never-before-seen access to the inner workings of Google's algorithm. One of the main takeaways being that Google hasn't been entirely truthful about what's in the algorithm over the last few years. And then there's one important thing to note, which is just recapping that these attributes are not the weight on the attributes, not how important each attribute is, just that they exist. But a lot of it is these attributes are things that Google said that they didn't have, that they couldn't measure, that they didn't know. And then we see that they are actually measured and they are metrics that Google has. And it doesn't surprise any experienced SEO who has seen this behavior from Google itself with lots of different experiments and lots of experience. Number 3, content freshness. Content recency and freshness is another metric Google is measuring as part of its algorithm. There are many references to content publication and update dates within the Google API documents. In fact, Google reviews dates in the byline date, URL, syntactic date, and on-page content, semantic date. Here's what this means. The more recent and relevant your content, the better. To keep your content fresh, it's necessary to check in regularly on the topics covered on your website to see if there's any outdated information. For example, you could use a marketing planning calendar to take note of any significant dates that may require your content to be updated and plan new content to keep your site fresh. Let's say your industry is real estate. In that scenario, you'd want to update your site to reflect the latest interest rates. I actually do this. First of all, whenever I update pages and then I submit the updates to Google Search Console, if I haven't updated that page in a while and previously was ranking well and it hasn't been ranking as well, and then I update the page and I submit that change to Google Search Console, I see an immediate boost, always, in page performance, in clicks from Google, just immediate boost always. And I also do the planning calendar. For specific pieces of SEO content, I make reminders 6 months from the publishing date, 1 year from the publishing date, every year on the same date, basically to go in and just make a few updates here and there to the content. Because you could write some amazing piece, you could have some amazing page written, and it would just take a few updates every now and then to keep it ranking really well. Now, I will say, this doesn't really apply so much with bottom of funnel SEO because these keywords are so non-competitive. And it's crazy because they convert so well, but they're so non-competitive because lots of SEOs don't think to go after them that they just remain non-competitive for years. It's really amazing. It is the greatest hack. It is what my product Compact Keywords is about because it is the greatest hack in white hat SEO. Literally, these bottom of funnel SEO landing pages, they don't need to be updated for years because so many SEOs don't think to go after these keywords. So many marketers don't think to go after these keywords. So many SEOs don't think to go after these keywords. Number 4, change history. While Google cares about recency, it also would know if you were lying about it. It was found in the documents that Google keeps copies of multiple versions of all index pages. Essentially, Google could recall all changes made to a page over time. That said, it will only use the last 20 changes of a URL when analyzing. That's super interesting. What this means, the fact that Google is taking your page's change history into consideration means you may want to be cautious when considering a series of changes to a given page. Making tiny changes to try to trick Google into thinking your content has been more dramatically updated could actually hinder your performance. For example, if you were to update a blog post publish date when the content is basically the same, that could hurt rather than help your rank. In short, try to keep your content truly fresh and up to date. Quality and accuracy matter more than a date on the page. So here's what I'll say about this. I've actually seen people who have gotten away with that, where I've been Googling and I've come across a page and it was from 4 years ago or 5 years ago and the content on it was outdated, but it was still ranking really well and it said it was published in the last year. And what I've come to realize is that these keywords just weren't super competitive and these pages were well optimized for the keywords, just like bottom of funnel SEO. But these pages were not necessarily bottom of funnel. They were more top of funnel, but they were still optimized for the keywords. I would guess that these webmasters or marketers or whoever updated the page to give a more recent publishing date, trying to trick Google, the real reason that these pages were still ranking was because the terms were not that competitive. So what I'm trying to say is I don't think someone's going to be penalized for trying to trick Google with this, but I'm also not surprised that this doesn't work. If you're trying to trick Google, you really have to consider it is one of the most valuable companies in the world and has some of the best developers in the world. And you are going up against them and trying to trick them. And you might be successful for a little bit. You really might. And then you're not going to be. And if you trying to trick them is too egregious, you can get a penalization across one of your sites or several of your sites. Just something to consider. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to be able to trick them in the short term. I see it all the time. We all see it all the time. But I am saying in the long term, it's going to be harder to get away with and more dangerous. I like playing the white hat game for the most part. No, really, I like building brand equity. I like having awesome sites, clean sites, beautiful sites, great bottom of funnel content, and a marketing ecosystem that just makes users and visitors and fans so happy. That's what I like to do. That's some like legacy type thing. And that's what I'm about. And it works really well. So that's what I'm into. Number 5, originality. Quote, pages with little content, unquote, as it's put in the documents, get an original content score. This score indicates that the less content you have on a page, the more original and unique it should be. That's really interesting. While there's no metric that measures character count, it's clear that Google is looking for any short form content to have an added dose of authenticity. Thin content is not always a function of length. So here's what this means. If your content tends to be shorter, then you'll want to ensure it's unique and original. Try not to rely heavily on generative AI for your content. I always say that. You've heard me say that. Also, see what types of content your competitors are putting out to pinpoint ways you can make your business stand out content-wise. Number 6, site size and age. The Google Sandbox is an SEO industry term used to describe the phenomenon of newer, smaller sites needing to go through a kind of waiting period before their pages rank. Google has previously denied there being any sort of sandbox, but there are factors mentioned in the documents that do look at site size, like small personal site, and age, like host age. However, it's unclear whether this could boost or demote a site. What this means: a common small business challenge is being able to rank on Google quickly. It can be a long, slow road, so be patient and don't take shortcuts. Focus on building your brand over time. In the meantime, look for other ways to reach your target audience, such as building an email list, promoting your business on social media, running display ads, and more. For small and medium businesses and newer creators/publishers, SEO is likely to show poor returns until you've established credibility, navigational demand, and a strong reputation among a sizable audience, writes Rand. I talked about this before. I'm going to say it again. If you're going after bottom of funnel keywords, you don't need to have a lot of authority and you can be a new site. Actually, there's a site. It has 20 domain authority now, but I discovered it when it had 8. 8 out of 100 domain authority. It is called colorbliss.art, and even at 8 out of 100 domain authority, which is incredibly low, and boostbenchmark.com gets you to 20 domain authority. This had 8 out of 100. super low, and it was still ranking for hundreds of bottom of funnel keywords. It was using, and it still uses programmatic SEO, was ranking super well, getting tons of bottom of funnel traffic from search, high converting. And so I actually don't believe there's a sandbox. Maybe 4 to 6 weeks unless you go viral. If you go viral, there's no sandbox. I've also seen that too. I've seen sites rank number 1 for their target keyword immediately because they went viral immediately. I was actually quoted in Ahrefs saying I think that there's a sandbox of around 4 to 6 weeks, and I still believe that. But that's still not a lot of time. And I know that there's not a year sandbox because I have seen new sites rank for so many bottom of funnel keywords, and new sites rank for their target high volume keywords because they went viral. And the final thing is Chrome data. It's no secret that Google is able to measure data from its own online browser, Chrome. That data could be impacting your SEO rankings. However, because it was found in the Google API documents that the number of views from Chrome attributed to both individual pages and entire domains, these are being tracked. My read is that Google likely uses the number of clicks on pages in Chrome browsers and uses that to determine the most popular/important URLs on a site, which go into the calculation of which to include in the site links feature, writes Rand. What this means, the more popular your pages are in Chrome, the better. Chrome owns 66% of the global internet browser market share, and it is by far the most popular browser in the United States. Having a site that your users love, even if they find it through other means in search, is likely good for your SEO in general because Google knows if your site is getting traffic and engagement. While it may feel tempting to give up on SEO amidst all this recent Google news, a strong online presence is as important as it ever was. If you can optimize your pages to be what users from Chrome and other pages on your site or on the internet just really want to click, it can also benefit your overall site rank. And that is all for 7 things Google can measure that will affect your SEO. Thank you, Susie Marino, who wrote this. I have the link to this in the description for the podcast. This is episode 424 of my daily digital marketing show. Some great data in this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you on the next one. Bye now.